So when you think about food, what is plain, simple food? Well, just eating carrots is plain and simple. When Sister White says we need plain, simple, hearty food, nutritious food, what is that? Nowadays, anything under 9 ingredients is considered simple. Where we do have some things, but on the norm, we don't have plain, nutritious food. And so they're again getting an old cookbook, and it could be for anything. It doesn't have to be this one. You can look up some of the recipes. Well, the eye opener is the amounts. I'm going to say I found a couple in here that were vegan recipes, and I made one, and I do have some things so everybody can have a taste if they choose. It's not pretty, but it tastes so good for it being as simple as it is. And you guys are going to see, when you see the ingredients, you're going to see how just a few things can really make a good soup. So what I made was a German lentil soup. And this is the recipe: 3/4 of a cup lentils. So I have never in my life made a lentil soup with that many lentils. Their ingredients are minimal. And these are people that didn't have a lot of food. It wasn't just that they didn't have money. They didn't have a lot of food because they were growing their food and working for just a few dollars a week. So that's 3/4 of a cup. That's why I have a dish. I'm collecting a dish set. This is the old dishes. When I put it next to my soup bowl, which was that big, and it didn't have a rim, this is what you filled with soup. So they also did courses. In this book, they talk about doing courses. And they do a soup and then some kind of a fresh veg, and then they do a vegetable main, and then possibly a piece of fruit. So this held 1 cup. My soup bowl, to look like it was filled, held 2 cups. So their portions were so much smaller, not just their amounts. This is a plate. I have not found one bigger that looks like this. I don't know if this is what they considered a salad plate, but this is the size of our salad plates. I don't know if it was their dinner plate or not. I'm thinking there's one a little bigger, but who knows? One note: when you're off, when you are in the no buy, no sell, everything, paper will be gone. You'll use it up no matter what you have. Cloth napkins, I switched to these. Switch now so you're used to it. My family at first, they were just like, nope, not going to use it. We don't want to get it dirty. Now they use it. Use the napkins, and you just launder them. And that's what you will be doing. So the changes, do them now so that you're used to it. And then when it all comes down, you're not struggling. We are going to struggle, but there's no need to struggle over napkins. Just saying. So the portion sizes are much smaller, and you will see how much soup comes out of this. I was reading you the recipe. So we have, let me see. We have a few slices of carrots. So I used 5 slices of a carrot. I wrote it down. We have 1 tablespoon of nut butter. That was an added protein. But 1 tablespoon, I've never put 1 tablespoon of peanut butter anywhere. And yet that's what they put in this soup. And the thing is, you can taste it. 1 tablespoon. Just telling you. Celery, 1 sprig or a little celery salt. Well, celery salt isn't celery, but I used I put 6 inches. I used a 6-inch piece of celery and put in this soup. I'm telling you that because when you taste it, you'll know. Salt, 4 cups of water. They added a turnip. I did not. They didn't put a turnip in, a few slices of turnip. I did not put it in this soup. I didn't have one. I like turnips, but If you do, put turnip in. Applesauce, a half a cup. I have, if you have apple trees and you can, then you've got applesauce and 1 onion. So in size proportion to the rest of everything, 1 onion is not a major onion. You get a Walla Walla sweet and it's like this big. I have some at my house that are that big. I did not use it. I used a small onion about that size. And, oh, why am I doing that? Hold on. So this is all the veg plus 3/4 of a cup of split peas that are in the soup. And this is a recipe. So this was for a family or whoever they were making it for.
Split peas or
okay, this is lentils, but you can use split peas. You can use I would assume any legume that you have. So if you don't have one kind, use another.
How much water did you say?
4 cups.
4 cups.
4 cups. And so that is this much water. This is a quart. That's the amount of water. You cook it for an hour and a half. So I cooked it for an hour and a half, and I did end up adding another cup of water. I don't know if they had it on a low part of their stove, but on my burner, I cooked it for an hour and a half and added more water. So I'm going to show you how I made it. And this is half a cup of applesauce plus the 1 tablespoon of nut butter. And I used peanut butter in it. That's my butter of choice. So that's what I had. So if you do not do peanuts, use almond butter, use any kind of nut butter that you use. So, and it will all work and it'll all be fine. They're lentils. And what I would change with this is, as I grew herbs, this isn't in the recipe, but you could add herbs in it also if you wanted to add some herbs. So how did they cream their soup? This is a cream soup, by the way. No blenders, no mixers. How did they cream their soup? Well, I used this handy dandy thing. And if you don't have this one didn't work as well because I put a little soup in all these so I could test it for you. And so this does cream it, but I didn't use it for the entire thing because I didn't like it as well. I also used this. Oh man. Okay. This I liked. I used this for tomatoes and I ground them and almost got not a puree, but that consistency where it's so fine you're not really having to chew much. So this is a nice thing to have. I'm giving you options here to change the consistency of your food. And like I said, if you had 1 carrot and a piece of celery and an onion, you grind it up in that, put it in your stock pot. Everybody gets a nutritious broth. And that's why you would puree. That's why we need to learn to puree. Otherwise, it's just textural and it wouldn't matter, but it matters from that point of view. Also, a grinder. We used to use a grinder all the time. I got rid of it because I was cleaning out. And then I went and bought another one at a thrift store just because I knew I needed it. This one doesn't. It does have the clamp. I have it upside down. But you put food down here, you grind it. And what I used the grinder for was, if anybody knows what potato dumplings, my husband comes from a Norwegian family, and they make potato dumplings. It's different than if you grated it. It's ground. And so grinding, I think, vegetables is a good option to have. Also, I know they have newer ones, but the old one's just so fun. This is from the 70s, I remember. And it's a nut chopper or a chopper. So you can chop them. They have the new ones that work wonderful. I couldn't find mine, so I brought that one. You want to make sure it's dispersed evenly, and that's why the pureeing. So then last I tried this, and that was my winner. Yes, you can't puree before. Everything would need to be cooked to put through this. I use this for my applesauce. And I know there are electric ones that you can use, but I'm used to this, and we're going to do without electricity soon anyway. Is my prayer. And this one is what they used. I'm going to put this through. I'm not going to do it all at once. You shouldn't. But that's all that's left in there. Does not make a lot of food. Although for them, it probably was. Remember, their size courses and ours are different. You put it in, and I'm going to tell you why they had puree. I think they did it if in the households where they had plenty of money. They did it probably as status to look cool, because that's why you would puree and take out all the fiber. But in the normal household, they pureed, and it's in the book, if you were sick and you needed some broth just to drink and not chew, it takes out the fiber. Do you see it coming out the bottom? So you're going to lose a lot of the fiber in this. If I was pureeing this, if we were in a situation and somebody needed to have a puree, maybe a baby or somebody, I would save the fiber and throw it in the broth or the soup that everybody else was going to eat. Because fiber, of course, keeps you full and gives you something to chew. All right. So I pretty much have scraped it. If nobody, there wasn't anybody sick, I'm not taking any fiber out. That's bulk.
Yeah, that's what
You want to keep that. If somebody was sick and you had to puree it and you didn't eat it all, possibly dehydrate it and add it, because it's food.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this isn't. They couldn't. If you're vegetarian, you wouldn't have beef broth or chicken broth. And when they were sick, that's what they needed. They needed nutrition, and they didn't have all the stuff that is available now. It's a lentil soup. Lentil is thick and toothsome, you know. So I just did a second puree, and I'm going to show you. This is the amount of the recipe that they had for their family. And then, of course, you add water to thin it down. But you have to puree this. It comes out more if it's warm. So if I had this cold, we wouldn't get as much. Unless you worked it. And who wants to do that? All right. Now, this soup is not beautiful. My husband is a side eater. Any side eaters here? Good. You're going to do well. Side eaters are difficult. Only because you can't feed them a whole lot that doesn't look beautiful. Blindfold. Good idea. This is what that recipe made. And I did not add salt, but I will now. And I'm going to show you. Also, I'm going to add the peanut butter and the applesauce.
So you wouldn't add that till it's completely.
It has to be pureed. Otherwise, you're pureeing that. Yeah. You wait till it's done, and then you add it in. So you puree it. And all this, does it take a lot of time? Not really, because I had the equipment and I was familiar with it. But if you're not, practice with it and try it. Apparently, I spread out. And this would be a fine grain salt. Salt also is a flavor enhancer. You do as much salt as you guys do for yourselves. All right. So peanut butter and applesauce are going in. And of course, it's unsweetened applesauce. Just remember, if you sweeten your applesauce, to make some without sweetener. There is natural sweetener. Food is what I do and what I usually talk about. Natural sweeteners that you can grow. If you're not growing stevia and all that, pears. If you have a pear tree, if you have a sweet pear tree, that you can use that as a natural sweetener in a lot of stuff because they are sweeter usually. Even once you cook them down, you can have a very sweet fruit, and if you cook it down, it's like, not as sweet as I thought. But your taste buds will also adapt. Okay, there it's incorporated. And you know, some of it may not have gotten, yeah, this is a good puree. So I'm going to thin this down to what I want. And that also will spread. But if you had a lot of people to feed this one to, you would thin it down. Probably I would thin it down to everybody gets a portion. In what water and thinning out spreads the flavor out. Okay, it's all mixed. And this is the consistency I left it. So if someone was sick, that might be a little too thick. They might need to have it more sipping. But and if you added too much water, reduce it down, and that reduces the amount of water, and so it brings up the flavor again. If someone's sick, and that's what they did, you have to know the technique, because if you needed it, or say you had all the beans you wanted and you wanted puree, this is how you would do it. Yes, but this just doesn't go across the board for soup. Do it to vegetables if you're serving vegetables to a big crowd. No, you would smash and puree vegetables so that they went farther.
To be aware of new videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the Preparing for the Time of Trouble channel. For more free videos and downloadable audio podcasts, as well as handouts, go to www.preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com. Topic categories include recordings of live seminar presentations, country living, sustainable gardening, homestead remedies, how to be self-sufficient when the grid goes down, wild edible and medicinal plants, hydrotherapy, and end-time Bible prophecies. To take advantage of these free resources, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.